Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Cabral Concept. Great to have you here today on our Wellness and Weight Loss Wednesday, where we are going to be connecting the brain to the body. And what I mean by that is this. Sometimes, and oftentimes, we're taught by conventional medicine and the media that your brain, your thinking, your cognitive ability has absolutely nothing to do with your body, has absolutely nothing to do with diet, and it's simply genetics alone, or it's some type of pre-conditioned dis-ease of the body that maybe you inherited or just by chance ended up with. But what we are seeing more definitively over and over through scientific research is that how we live our lives affects our overall mortality rate, not just by the immune system, by actually what happens as we fill up that proverbial rain barrel, meaning that what we eat, how we move, do we exercise, are we accumulating toxins, how stressed are we, how little sleep do we get, all of these things add up to the filling up of that rain barrel and the issues with heart disease, blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, and what we're calling type 3 diabetes with dementia and Alzheimer's. And what I wanted to share with you today is a very good research study, and it's very concise and precise with what it says to do and not to do. And if you do not heed the advice now, it shows that your brain, literally your brain over the age of 65, has aged 10 years faster than your counterparts. And the issue is that the aging of the brain is actually happening mid-age, and it's affecting you then after the age of 65 years old. So my goal for you now is, whether you're 25, 35, 45, 55, 65, whatever it might be, is that you begin to implement the lifestyle changes needed, and they're not dramatic, in order to put yourself less at risk for these type of diseases. And this is a brain-based disease. Dementia is a disease. But remember, it's a dis-ease of the body, which means it's an imbalance of the body that led to this. This is not genetic predisposition alone. We are all genetically predispositioned to something, okay? So yes, there is a such thing as genetics. We're predisposed to, let's just take myself, for example, because I don't like to talk out of cue here, and I'll talk about myself. I'll pick on myself. My genetics, not good for blood sugar, right? Not good for autoimmune diseases, like especially rheumatoid arthritis. Not good for histamine issues, like mastocytosis. So all of that for sure is in my genes. There are many more as well, but we'll keep it at those for right now. And in some people, well, you might more trend towards, let's say, Hashimoto's. You might trend more towards migraines in your family or high blood pressure. My family, it's high cholesterol. Not as much high blood pressure. It's there, but not as much as the high cholesterol. Almost all of my grandparents had cholesterol. Parents have had it. So what do? Well, believe it or not, I had it as a teenager. I had high cholesterol and low good cholesterol. So low HDL, high LDL, high total cholesterol. Now, 20 plus years later, cholesterol is normal. How did that happen? Lifestyle choices. I wasn't necessarily making terrible lifestyle choices, I would say, in my early 20s, but not in balance with my body. And that's what I want to teach you right now. Okay, so I'm going to go over the study. The study is very succinct. Okay, it's a really nice study. I'm pulling this right out of Medical News Today, but this is this is peer-reviewed, so you'll be able to find this in many different places. But I'll go over it, and then I will link up multiple places where you can read over the study as well. So here's what it says. I'm going to read it to you just so that it's completely unbiased. And then what I want to talk about is why this matters. So every paragraph or so, I'll give you a little bit of insight. So it says, study links higher body weight later in life to to faster brain aging. A new study has identified an association between having a higher body mass and larger waist later in life, and a faster thinning of the cerebral cortex, which is a key characteristic of brain aging. So let's stop right there just for a second. So basically what it's saying is, and we've spoken about this before, a high waist-hip ratio, so a larger waist, and a higher body mass, and we'll talk about what that is in just a moment, meaning body mass index, BMI, later in life leads to faster thinning of the cerebral cortex, which is linked to dementia. So let's go a little bit deeper into it. So having an unhealthy weight is a significant risk factor for many health problems, including developing metabolic conditions such as diabetes, as well as cardiovascular problems. But could excess weight also be a risk factor for cognitive decline? This is the question that researchers from the Miller School of Medicine at the University of Miami in Florida have been considering in a new study, whose results now feature in the journal Neurology. This research indicates that there is a link between body mass index, BMI, later in life and the rate of cortical thinning in older age. The cerebral cortex is the outer layer of the brain, which contains a high amount of gray matter, the substance made out of the neuronal cell bodies. Researchers associate the thinning of the cortex with cognitive decline, which in turn they associate with a higher risk of dementia, hastening brain aging by 10 years. In this latest study, the researchers worked with 1,289 participants whose age averaged 64 years old. Of these, 2/3 were Hispanic heritage. At baseline, the investigators measured the participants' BMIs as well as their waist circumference. Among the participants, 346, so about 25%, had a BMI under 25, which is considered basically normal, healthy weight. 571 people had a BMI between 25 and 30, which is considered overweight, and 372 had a BMI over 30, which was denoting obesity. Among the participants with healthy BMIs, of which 54% were women, the average waist circumference was 33 inches. Among the overweight participants, of which 56 were females, the average measurements was 36 inches. Lastly, among those with obesity, that's a BMI above 30, which included 73% women, the average waist circumference was 41 inches. At a follow-up assessment, after an average of 6 years, the team also asked the participants to undertake MRI scans to measure the cortical thickness and total brain volume, among other factors. People with bigger waists and higher BMI were more likely to have thinning in the cortex area of the brain, which implies that obesity is associated with the reduced gray matter of the brain. And these associations were especially strong in those who were younger than 65, which adds weight to the theory that having poor health indicators in midlife, okay, so now we're talking about 30s, 40s, 50s, increase the risk for brain aging and problems with memory and thinking skills later in life. Now we're saying after the age of 60 or so. Even after the researchers adjusted for potential confounding factors such as having high blood pressure, frequent alcohol, and smoking, the associations remained. More specifically, in people with BMIs of 25 to 30, each BMI unit showed a 0.098 millimeter decrease in cortical thickness. In people with obesity, the study linked a 0.207 millimeter decrease in cortical thickness with each BMI unit rise. Based on their findings, the authors thus suggested that having a higher than healthy BMI and a thicker waist circumference might hasten brain aging by 10 years or more. In normal adults, the overall thinning of the cortical mantle is between 0.01 and 0.1 millimeter per decade. And our results would indicate that being overweight or obese may accelerate aging in the brain by at least a decade, says Dr. Rundick. So I'm going to keep it at that for the study itself. Again, I will link it up for you. A good study done over 6 years. I would love to see it continue. I don't know that they will do that specifically, but I would love to be able to see the research on that and to see how far this goes. So here's the thing. They don't tell you the why, right? A lot of research studies, they don't tell you the why. They tell you what is, but not the why. But we know the why. It's called inflammaging. What happens is as you gain weight or you're dealing with some type of toxic realm in the body, and make no mistake about it, adipose tissue, so body fat, excess body fat, especially around the waist, as they were showing right here, is a toxic product to the body. When you increase adipose tissue, forget about even exogenous outside environmental factors. Your body produces more estrogen and oftentimes a higher link with higher cortisol. We know that cortisol destroys brain cells. We know that cortisol unchecked or chronically over time can also increase inflammation. We know that estrogen can do the same. What we are looking at, and this is why, again, I always go after the problem of weight gain, not around vanity, but about overall health, quality of health, and longevity. Because regardless of what you want your body to look like, that is none of my business. And honestly, I don't place any judgment, nor do I care too much about one person does with their body and another person does with their body. That's their body. It's their choice. But what we have to understand is that the media and people will often say, it's okay to be 100 pounds overweight. It's okay. Well, yes, it absolutely is okay. Make no mistake about it, because I don't want to be misconstrued in what I'm saying. It is okay. But please do keep in mind that there are massive repercussions to this. And if we say it's okay, are we pretending then that this isn't going to cause serious complications later in life? Because we know that many people that end up with cardiovascular issues, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, cancer, COPD, and many other health issues that not only are a big strain on the healthcare system, they cost a lot in terms of, because healthcare is basically $1 trillion industry, but it dramatically affects their quality of life. But they're not told that. People are not told that until they are either the 100 plus pounds overweight, they feel the effects themselves, or it starts to get really serious. And at that point, it's harder to lose the weight. Now, you can absolutely still do it. I saw this beautiful video. I'm going to make a note of it right now. I am going to put this in there because I loved the video. And it is this man who went from 475 pounds to basically 275 pounds in a year. And it's only a 5-minute video. So I'm going to share it with you on this Friday's review. Okay, so I'll do that this Friday. I'm going to put that in there. I'll call him the 200-pound man, meaning he lost 200 pounds. I mean, I was rooting for him like every minute. I love seeing that success story because I know helping people lose 20 pounds, that's easy. 30 pounds, that's easy. We can do that all day long. It's not difficult. That can happen in months, not years. But this man said, I'm 475 pounds. I've got this, and this wrong with me. I want to live. I want to be healthy. I want to be able to move my body. And he was inspired to change. And he documented it. And it was amazing. And it is amazing. And yes, he's 275 pounds now. But guess what? Losing that 200 pounds, I mean, what did that do? If someone says, you'll never be able to prove this, but did it add 10 years to his life? Minimum, in my opinion. Minimum. Because of what he has to do to lose the 200 pounds. He had to change his nutrition. He had to begin moving his body, and that's not easy. I mean, think about moving your body. Maybe he has another 75 pounds to go, right? Maybe like a good weight for him is 200 pounds. Not everybody's meant to be 150 pounds, right? But let's say it's 200 pounds. He had to lose essentially 275 pounds. That's like two people, two smaller people in order to accomplish that. It's an amazing accomplishment. But people are saying, well, here's a medication for blood pressure. Well, here's a medication for cholesterol. Here's a medication. We continue to give out medications and we continue to say that it's okay. And I don't know that people who are 100 pounds overweight or more want to be told that it's okay. Maybe it feels good, just like, okay, well, here's the medication. Maybe it's genetic and everyone in my family was overweight, whatever it might be. And everybody, most people have families where someone's overweight. It's just the way that it is. Like usually that is within the family. Like my grandmother was overweight and then she lost the weight. It's like it can happen. It absolutely can happen. And that's why I just believe that there is hope for every individual. But also this information is life transforming. If you lose, and I've said this before, if you're more than 10 pounds away from your goal weight, get to that 10-pound buffer, right? Because things are just dramatically different. If I were to give you a 30-pound weight and I asked you to hold that weight for 10 minutes, no matter how strong you are, you would feel the effects of that. You can hold it against your body. You can hold it wherever you'd like. You'd feel that extra 30 pounds. Well, if you're at 30 pounds away from your goal weight, that's what you're walking around with. So yes, it's damaging your joints. Yes, it's making it harder on your lungs. Yes, it's making it harder on your heart. It's making it harder to sleep. It is difficult to sleep when you are lying down and significantly overweight. It crushes the lungs and it can hurt the internal organs. It's why a lot of people that are overweight, and again, I've been doing this for quite some time, and I've actually had what I would say the pleasure to work with people that are 100 plus pounds overweight, some being 200 pounds overweight. And it's some of the most rewarding clients to work with. You understand the struggle. You see the struggle, and you also see the success. And for me, we have to understand, throw vanity out the window. But if you're not looking at your BMI, if you're not measuring your waist, you're overlooking a symptom. So we always like to talk about grogginess in the morning as a symptom, right? Like if you're waking up groggy, something's wrong, right? You're starting to go the wrong direction in terms of your HPA axis, which is your hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis. Something's most likely wrong also with what's called your hypothalamus pituitary thyroid axis. Because in the morning, your body's supposed to produce its highest amount of cortisol between about 6 and 8 in the morning as the body begins to wake up and get up for the day. Naturally, your body's supposed to start to spike its thyroid around 4 a.m., start to begin to move and get ready for that day. If that is not happening, there's an issue. If your body's not producing melatonin a couple hours or towards sunset, that's also an issue. So those are symptoms, right? Grogginess, a lack of endurance, a lack of stamina, a lack of ambition, a lack of drive, a lack of libido. These are all things that show that the body's becoming run down. And we can't ignore that. Let's say you start to get bloating after meals. Don't ignore that. That's a symptom. Being more than 10, 15 pounds away from your goal weight, it's a symptom. It's a symptom that something's off in the body. Now, maybe it is that you're just eating a little bit more. That's for sure possible, right? That's for sure possible, especially right now with more people being locked down, locked inside and home. There's more alcohol. There's more food. What I'm saying to you right now is, though, okay, I understand. Like, people gain weight, people lose weight. And that's okay. Like, there's that buffer there, right? But when you start to be consistently, and I would say chronically, like an illness, above 20, 25 pounds away from your goal weight, I urge you to take that weight off. You don't need to have six-pack abs. You don't need to be ripped, right? That's not what we're looking for here. We are looking for you to really take care of the vessel that's carrying you through life. That's what I'm trying to express. Be lean. You're not looking to be on the cover of Men's Health, Women's Health, whatever it might be. I want you to be in shape for you because I want life to be easier for you. And believe it or not, your brain and your body respond to being in good shape. And it's also why I share with studies like this with you, is that if you're not paying attention to your weight, other things are beginning to happen. It's going to affect your sleep. It's going to affect, again, the 3 major causes of mortality. And we'll add the 4th one being cancer. We've got heart disease, we've got cancer, we've got stroke, we've got type 2 diabetes. And if you have any of that, no doubt it's affecting the brain, right? Because we have inflammation, high blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol. We're talking about inflammation. Now, inflammation is not the root cause. We've talked about that before. But for sure, we have inflammation. And if you think that inflammation is not affecting your brain just because you can't see it, and we don't have great blood lab testing for that specifically, you can go back to my Alzheimer's Space series, and you can check out all the different, basically 25 different parameters and 14 labs that you can run with your PCP. It's there. I'm telling you, it's there, and we can't overlook it anymore. So when you hear me speak about BMI, waist-hip ratio, body fat percentage, I'm not saying that because I'm trying to create, fitness competitor-looking bodies. I'm saying that because if you keep yourself in shape, and I see people like that in my practice, when they're in their 70s, and I have many private clients in their 70s, they are absolute specimens to watch. They are my role models for when I'm in my 70s. That's the truth. And I have clients in their 80s as well. I have one client in particular that I can think of. I think about really, I'm like, that is what I shoot for. He's on the board of several organizations. He works because he wants to, keeps his brain active. He travels quite a bit. He still skis, which is unbelievable, plays tennis, and he's just active. We're talking mid-80s. It's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. And then many other clients, we're talking about weightlifting as if they were 35 years old and in their early 70s. It's incredible. Still working full-time, as if, I would say, how can I compare them to? I would say early 50s, late 40s, but in great shape, like all of that. Meaning you would not believe them to be early 70s if it wasn't for some of those character lines on the face. Sometimes we call them, a couple lines, a couple wrinkles, a couple gray hairs, right? That's okay. That happens with age. Nothing wrong with that at all. But it's all about the mind and it's all about the body. You need to take care of the inner workings, and you can't see them. That's the issue. You can't see your heart. You can't see your lungs. You can't see your arteries. Can't see your brain. Now, we can run labs. We can run all sorts of different labs, at-home labs, blood labs, to be able to check those out. But one of the best indicators are, what's your energy like? What's your drive and ambition like? How's your sleep, right? And what's your weight like? If those things are not in proper working order, we need to begin to work on them right away. And that is because what you do now in life affects you when you're older. Bottom line. You don't get to do things right now to your body and not have them have any repercussions later in life. Now, again, when we talked about alcohol in there, we talked about some, cheat meals, whatever it might be. That's not the issue. It's chronic stress, chronic poor diet, chronic sedentary lifestyle, chronic toxicity, chronic lack of sleep that leads to things over time. So that means ongoing. Chronic is ongoing. Every once in a while, no big deal. Okay, once a week, you get a little less sleep. You have a cheat meal. You have a little bit of alcohol. It's once a week. It's not the majority of the time where you're doing it. And we can't say, well, I do it 60% of the time. That's majority, sure, but that's not enough. We really have to look at it like 9 out of 10 meals are good. 9 out of 10 days are pretty good. You're missed a workout, okay, but you still got 3 or 4 in that week. So it's what we do the majority of the time. And it's why I go back to, and again, we can't do a whole podcast on this, the de-stress protocol. If you don't know what that is, again, I've spoken about it many times in the podcast, but it's not one thing. It's looking at your overall healthy lifestyle. And if you're looking at diet and you're looking at exercise, it includes plus your 10,000 steps a day, you're looking at your stress, you're doing your detoxes, you're working on your rest and sleep patterns between 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night, you're working on your emotions, the emotional balance, you're taking your daily nutritional supplement protocols, and you're focused on a success mindset, which is allowing you to maintain and continue to push forward, this is all going to take care of itself. So whether you have 25 pounds to lose, 50 pounds to lose, or 100 plus pounds to lose, I urge you today to recommit to a program that you can follow, that you're willing to commit to, ideally with an accountability partner, that's going to allow you to enjoy the benefits of living a long, healthy life, but not just a long, healthy life, one that you actually get to enjoy, where your joints feel good, your energy feels good, your hormones feel good, and this vessel that's walking, that's carrying you around, well, you get to actually use that for the rest of your life. And that includes both brain and body. Hopefully today's podcast was helpful. You can check out all the details as well as the research study at stevencabral.com/1552. And as always, if this show was helpful, please do feel free to share it with anyone you believe it could serve. Ever wonder what the best sauna, blue blockers, sleep trackers, wake lights, salt lamps, or other health gadgets are? Or what about the top non-toxic mattresses, sheets, soaps, bath products, toothpaste, and cookware? Or would you like to know the cleanest choices for hemp parts, meal delivery services, supplements, and much more? I personally curated, researched, and now created a resource page of all of my top picks that continues to grow each week. These are the exact products I use in my own life, with my family, in my private practice, and they're the ones I trust. To find out all of my up-to-date recommendations and all the details, simply head on over to stevencabral.com/resources.